Well, hey everyone, Wayne Fox here. Just got a new drone. This is the Air 3S. I've had a lot of drones over the years. I currently have a Mini 2S, and I didn't like a couple things about it. Bought the Air 3 mainly because of the other lens. Bought this because of a couple of improvements and because I'm interested in testing out that 50 megapixel 1-inch sensor. Now this video is about how you can connect your RC-2 to an external display. If you're not interested in that, see you later, unless you want to just check out my awesome video. But I watched the video online. I was curious about doing that, and the video went into some real detail about how hard it was and how they had to have a special cable built. And it surprised me because I looked up on DJI site, and the port on the bottom of the RC-2 is a standard USB 3 port. Now, USB 3 is a standard protocol, 5 gigabits per second, and most of the time it supports quite a few things. I was watching 51 Drones, and he talked about plugging a mouse in there so he could accurately do waypoints. And I thought, well, what if I can just plug a display in there? And I'll tell you right now, you do not need to buy any special cable. I had this $15 cable that Amazon still sells that's USB-C to DisplayPort cable. And then I picked up from Amazon just the other day this $9 USB-C to HDMI cable. And they both work just fine. So what I'm going to do is show you how that works, talk a little bit about why I play with drones, what my plan is, if you're interested. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of show you why I wanted to do it. And it has to do with pre-planning waypoint missions. And if you're interested in that, just check it out. So let's first of all just show you that these cables, they're all you need. You don't need to spend a lot of money. Let's get into it. Okay, I've got my two cables plugged in. Here is my Uni brand DisplayPort cable, USB-C connection here. I've also got my HDMI cable. This is the connection here. They're both plugged into this display. I've got a camera behind me, a little RX100 kind of shooting it to kind of show you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. Nothing special. I don't need to wait. I don't need to plug it in first. All right, so you can see that I've got my controller set. Let's plug it in. And give it a second. And there you go. There's my display. Now here I can connect to aircraft. I can go to my aircraft. I can do camera view. And there I go. If I want to put my map up, I can pull down, see my displays, works just fine. Let's just unplug that. Controller's still fine. Let's plug in the HDMI one. And now this is HDMI 3. Give it a second. And voila. So I don't know why this works and maybe didn't work before. Maybe the previous controllers built earlier than mine are based on a different version of Android. The current one, this one I've had a month or so is all, it's based on Android 11. Okay, timeout. I thought I'd interrupt this because what I was about to say isn't quite true. I thought this controller was the one I got with my 3S, and I just got my Mini 4 Pro today, and it came with an RC-2 as well. I couldn't get one with the, is it RC, whatever. I don't even know the number of this one. And it dawned on me that when I bought the Air 3S, I bought one with this controller because I already had a controller that I got with my 2S, an RC-2. So this RC-2 controller that I've been using to make the video with is actually about 2.5 years old. I bought that in December of 2022. Now, the good news is I tried the same thing with a brand new controller I had, and just like the other one, plugged in the HDMI cable, and bam, it's syncing and mirroring to my big screen. No problem. So I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened before, and it was such a problem, why it required a special cable. All I know is my $9 cable from Amazon works perfect to feed HDMI to my display. Okay, back to the video. So let me show you one more thing that's pretty cool. I've got the display up here. This is my 32-inch BenQ. I'm actually showing it over my shoulder, and then I'll switch to, right now I'm actually sending it to my computer to be captured via the HDMI, so it'll be nice and clear. But what I'm going to do here is with the controller, I'm going to pull down and pull down again. I'm going to turn on Bluetooth. Then I'm going to touch and hold Bluetooth. And you'll notice that I've connected a mouse and a keyboard, previously connected devices. It's pretty easy to connect a device. I'm going to go ahead and just touch my mouse. And now you can see that I have an arrow on the screen and I'm controlling this with my mouse. Let's go ahead and connect the keyboard as well. So that makes it more useful. Not only can I see it, but I can control some cool stuff. So that begs the question, okay, what good does that do? Well, there's kind of three things that I can think of, and one in particular, the reason I'm doing it. First of all, obviously, if you're creating some kind of an instructional tutorial on setting up the drone, you're not actually out flying it, it's really nice to be able to control that and record your screen rather than try to record it on that little device. Because you're using a mouse and you've got a big screen, you've got much finer control. And that brings up the second thing that can be helpful, especially when setting up a new drone. So you notice here that I've now got my drone running, and I'm going to go ahead and hit go fly. Now, obviously, I'm not going to fly, but what I am going to do is use my mouse. I'm going to go ahead and open my settings. And when you get to control, because you have much finer control with the mouse and the cursor, if you want to do your gain and expo tuning, notice how I can click and hold this, and then I can drag and get very, very fine control. Now, a lot of them, it doesn't matter. You don't need that fine control. But if you want to get 13 miles per hour, just to have a round number, no problem. Where it really comes into play, though, is in the expo tuning. Right now, it's hard to get this expo tuning down to the 100th. If I click and hold this now, and then I begin to drag, you'll see that I can control it to 1/100th. And it's really easy to tweak it. And you might find that a setting of 2.8 isn't any different than 2.5. But I think if you get a new drone or you're trying to calibrate it, this might be an advantage. Now, I don't know that I would set it all up just to do this. I'm setting it up for something else. Let me go ahead and turn the drone off so the fan gets quiet. And let me show you the main thing that I wanted to do with this. So a little bit of background. The main thing I'm interested in here, my kind of interest is because I like to learn how to do a better job videoing golf courses. I want to learn to do flyovers and also to take still images. I live next to a golf course. I've been a member of a long time, and I need to get up in the air 50, 70 feet to get a nice angle for some of the greens and other features of the course. And that's kind of true with any course. From an aerial view, a lot of things look different and are pretty dramatic. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and get my Part 107 license. I've probably been studying 2 or 3 weeks off and on. And at this point, I'm pretty sure I can pass the test, I guess overconfident, but I do okay on all the practice tests I take. And I really don't care how much I pass by, as long as I get my 70%. It's interesting as I've gone through this process, for those of you that have done the 107, you understand they ask you, you learn so much that really has no application at all to a drone pilot, about airports, about weather, things like that. And you think, man, this is crazy. And at first I thought it was crazy too. And then I think I know one thing the FAA is trying to do is make sure you appreciate the importance and the difficulty of managing the airspace with all that goes on. And the consequences of not doing it, of course, can be fatal. And so I think the other thing is they just don't want to make it so easy that everybody that buys a drone can, study for 10 minutes, kind of like the trust exam. They want to make sure that if you're going to do it, you're going to do it because you really want to, and you're going to have to put some work in. So anyway, and my goal is to be able to do flyovers of golf holes and find some nice still angles and actually be able to either sell those or, I've got a couple connections that I might be able to maybe swap some tee times for some high-end resorts to create some aerial stuff for them. Anyway, that's my goal. And what I thought might be helpful is if I could pre-plan a mission for a hole before I ever got to the golf course, and then I could fly the mission and then just tweak it. So I've been experimenting with that lately using this technique. And because I've got such a big screen and because I've got such fine control with the cursor, it's really simple to use this setup to get your waypoints pretty close. If you're interested in that, hang on. If not, well, hey, thanks for watching anyway. It might be worthwhile though. Let's just check these out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and connect to aircraft. It's not actually on, and we're going to go ahead and go to camera view. And let's bring up our map here. We're going to switch this over to mixed. And now I'm going to go overhead and I'm going to load a mission. Let's bring that one up. And we got to zoom in here. I can zoom in with a scroll wheel. I can put the arrow right in the middle of that, and it's pretty easy to zoom in. Now this mission has a waypoint that I didn't intend to be there. So first thing I'm going to do is go to waypoint 10, not 9. And I'm going to delete that. There we go. Now what I learned on this mission, originally when I set up, it was 125 feet. And I got over there and I realized that I needed to be a little lower. I was worried about some trees that are around this a little bit. The second thing I learned is I wanted this to have a POI so the cameras were controlled, and I had the camera set on too low of an angle. They were, I had them like at 10 feet, and I had to adjust the height of the POI. But this mission went real well, and I was pretty happy with the result. Now, if I were to do it over again, what I found was I probably needed to be a little further away. Now, this is the hard part. I've got number 9 right on top of number 10 or 1. So if I wanted to fly this mission, I'd probably have to go ahead and pull these all back a little bit. And of course, one of the challenges you have is I don't know where these trees are, but I'm high enough I should be okay with the trees. And of course, when I flew the mission the first time, I was watching it really close with my finger on the cancel button. Anyway, that was that mission. Let me just show you the other one. It's just down the street a little ways. Let's go ahead and drag over. And this is that, I guess you call it a right-of-way that eventually will have a pretty big road. And so I just flew down this mission. And the only thing I did different here is as I got here, I changed the camera settings so that the camera would pan over and sweep to the east, which there's a real big, tall range of the Wasatch Mountains there. And that flew really well. I didn't have any problem. Now, I can't show you the videos themselves. I can't even show you a video of me flying the drone because that would be flying a drone for commercial purposes. And the FAA doesn't care about the making video part. It's simply the act of flying. So now let me go ahead and create the mission that I did on the first hole of my golf course so you can kind of see the process. This is the Pro Shop, and then this is the tee for the first hole. So I'm going to go ahead and click my waypoint. I'm going to create a mission. Now, the one thing I will say is I saw a lot of videos about you have to make sure you start at the same place. And I don't think that's quite true. I think it's important you start at the same elevation. But I experimented on one mission. I was doing an overview of my driving range. So the head pro who wants to put a few extra pins in, we can kind of consult with that and trying to figure out yardages. And I actually just went out my back fence and launched the drone. And I'm about 90 feet, 150 feet from where the mission started. And it flew over right where it was supposed to, and it flew the mission perfectly. Now, you kind of want to watch it, obviously, but I think the critical thing is you have to understand that the altitude is based on the home point, and it measures altitude by air pressure. It doesn't actually have a sensor. So it measures altitude by how much higher it goes. And the problem that I've got here is this tee box. There's a slope here to the next tee, big slope here, and big slope here. So this is about 70 feet below the tee box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a waypoint here. And let's go to the settings on that waypoint. And we're going to start this pretty low because I want to just kind of zoom off the tee box. And I don't have to really go up much because the fairway is going to fall away from me. And I'm going to go ahead and set gimbal tilt to be manual. I learned that in this particular case, it's hard to tilt the gimbal down. I couldn't use a POI on the green because I would have to go to like a negative 100 feet. So I thought, we'll just do gimbal tilt, and then we'll just start adding more waypoints. So basically, I just want to kind of fly over to here, and then over to here, and then I should be kind of curving back here, and I'm going to come to here, and I'm going to come to about right in here, and then I'm going to go back and let's just first of all apply some global settings. We want the speed to be about 15 miles per hour, maybe a little faster. This is a par 5, it's quite a ways. Let's go to 18 miles per hour. Now let's just double check what it did with our gimbal. And it looks like I've got to set each of those individually. So I want to have each gimbal. And now if I do apply to all, I think that will then let me control the gimbal on the entire flight. Because I think that's the only way I can really, and I did fly the mission, and that's, I found out by experience, that's how I had to set it up. I'm going to go ahead and come to this waypoint. I'm going to go ahead and raise the altitude to about 25 feet. Now remember, that means I'm about 45, 50 feet over the fairway. Same with this one. Let's just go up a little higher. Let's go about 50 feet. And of course, these I want to go up a little to about the same. I wish it had a way you could say not apply to all, but apply to the all and the future ones. It'd be nice if there were some choices here. There's one other thing I wish that you would be able to do is I wish you would be able to tell the drone, I want you to go here and I want you to make a turn to the course, and I want you to just make that turn. I want you to pause and turn and then go. For example, what I want to do here is I want to be able to actually now stop there and then gradually do a pullback. I can't do that with a waypoint because it will start doing all these curve things. So what I'm going to do is go to this last one, and I'm going to go to my, my global settings. And I'm going to say at the end of flight, I'm going to say I want you just to hover. And that will allow me to take control of it. Let's go ahead and set, go back to number 1. And let's tell it we want it to start recording. And there you go. So this mission is something I created it. I learned a few things, created a few more times. I think now I could probably create a pretty good mission. And when I got to the location, as I flew a test, I could tweak it. So that was the reason I wanted to do it. And as you can see, I threw the camera from behind me a few times just to prove to you that I'm doing this on a big screen. And because of that, I have really fine control. I mean, if you look at this, I can click on this waypoint and I can drag it around. Let's say that I want to move it to this tee box. Try doing that on the little screen that you've got out in their field. So if you remember, we used the keyboard, and the reason is once you connect the HDMI display, for some reason, you don't get the keypad if you try to change the name of your mission, and it's easier to use the keyboard anyway. It's really nice. Let's go ahead and save this. Click here. We're going to change the name. Just click the little pencil. I'm going to click here. I'm going to double click here. Now, one thing you want to do is don't cut it, but just type in your new name, because if you cut it, your cursor disappears. And then just hit save. And now you've renamed it way easier with the keyboard. Well, I hope that was helpful to some of you. It was a fun video to make. I'm having a lot of fun with the new drone now that I've decided to get a little more serious about it. I might do a couple of drone videos here and there. That's really not the focus of my channel. But because I'm kind of a rookie, I might learn things. I don't think I'll ever turn it into a drone channel, but maybe I'll find some things especially that apply. My real focus and main thing I'm interested in is actually still photography. That's why the new 3S, I think that 50 megapixel sensor will allow me to make a decent sized print. And the other thing I can do is use the 70 millimeter lens and do kind of a stitch to get a fairly high resolution shot. So I can go to locations and get a perspective that might be really rather unique. I'm excited to try that.
Well, don't criticize me too much, you experienced drone flyers in the bottom. But if you see something that would help me learn this process, I love your comments. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. See ya.